Hello my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. This video is extremely important to those who are taking care of elderly, and the elderly are going through this self-healers protocol detox. I say elderly because they are the most toxic, but also people who suffer with very bad chronic problems that we have named autoimmune diseases. Similar things happen because it's not about age, it's about toxicity. So what happens very often when people start taking the protocol and drinking plasma, water with sea salt, they start feeling better right away. But sometimes, all of a sudden, appears some water retention. Usually it is in extremities, in ankles, but sometimes hands also, and sometimes skin. This is why I like to see people that I'm working with, and we go on Skype or Zoom or any other media where I can see them, because it tells me a lot when I see the skin and overall the body. I immediately get picture. So what happens is that most of these people suffer from water retention, and they are even on diuretics. If they also have a problem with blood pressure, so they are also on diuretics for that reason, or beta blockers or any of that other garbage, toxic garbage, which complicates things. Now when they start absorbing plasma, it may happen that the swelling increases. If they had problem with water retention, most likely it is going to increase. But if they listen and they continue drinking adequate amount of plasma, water retention goes down. But what happens? We all know, because we have been told this, and especially doctors, that salt causes water retention and destroys kidneys and creates high blood pressure. All this crap is salt, 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 salt. No, don't take salt, especially if you have some chronic health problem. Well, as you start loading the body with plasma that is missing, this is why it was never detoxifying, what happens is that you are basically dislodging some of the toxic stuff that body could not throw out, so it pushed it into periphery, subcutaneous tissue, joints, basically, so it's away from main blood circulation. And as we are dropping, we are constantly getting more and more dehydrated, so we have less and less plasma. This stuff is getting locked in there, and since body needs plasma, needs water to cleanse, and since body is low on this, it doesn't cleanse. And if it's pushed and the toxicity is getting very high, then it starts cleansing through organ which loses less water, which is skin, and you start getting these inflammations of the skin. And then it's enough that you scratch yourself in one place, you know, like because it's itching, because this could itch. Many people suffer from itchiness of the skin. This is the reason. It's toxicity in peripheral tissue, and now it's acting, the cells, it bothers the cells, so they go into forced hydration, which is the inflammation, to hydrate a little bit and to deal with this toxicity, usually through sweat or through pimples, bad skin, because it's saving water, so it doesn't even want to sweat. So you have these boils starting to happen, especially where there is a friction going on, because we are stimulating this part of the skin. So you are speeding the blood circulation there, and blood is toxic. And Here, more you are accumulating of these toxins, and here you have more boils, usually around the neck, usually in prepucium, around the hind, okay, wherever, thighs, where you're rubbing thighs, because many people are also obese. So they're rubbing the thighs, and bingo, this is stimulating faster circulation, more toxicity comes in, and pow. Now, this is one part, but what people do, and I always say, this is why I highly recommend that you have guidance during the process, especially if you have any chronic problem or you are medicated, because you make errors. And these errors are very common because we are afraid of salt, because we have been told so. And we automatically think, well, more water retention, which is not actually what happens. Because the water that you are retaining is very toxic. It's all the toxic stuff that was there, and now plasma is coming, circulation is bad, and it cannot move. This is why I say do some lymphatic massage, and raise your feet so it's easier flow. But what happens is that whatever is dislodged of this toxicity goes then into circulation and makes our blood more toxic. And this is why many people who are in that state, they are old and very dehydrated on plasma level, on extracellular and intracellular level. So what happens basically is that body now needs to get this toxicity out. The longer it stays in the blood, it creates a symptoms of toxic blood, which are usually pains, because it goes into forced hydration. We start getting multiple inflammations, but before we didn't have them, because now blood is more toxic, so the toxicity is spreading through the body. Your muscles are being affected, severe headaches, and muscle pain. And it could be also localized in areas where you basically have problems, and usually this is digestive system, in most cases, and then pulmonary system. So as long as we continue drinking adequate level of plasma, what is the adequate level of plasma in this case? Maintaining diarrhea, because colon is becoming, in this case, your biggest and strongest detox valve of the body. And as it is cleansing now this toxic stuff through glomerulus that it has and creating a toxic mucus, this mucus is coming there into the usually stomach and into the intestines, making us sick, nauseous, and creating diarrhea. Now, faster you get rid of this, the symptoms will calm down. But for this, again, now you need a lot of plasma. This is why in the morning you have to take at least 1 liter of plasma in one shot to flush the system, because during the night you accumulated more of this toxicity. And if you do that, and usually at that time we are just dealing with toxic blood and subcutaneous tissue, whatever is dislodged. Now more there is problem, more garbage that is accumulated there, you need to keep increasing the plasma level, to dig into it, to bring it all in circulation, and then eliminate it through diarrhea. Now, when people start getting little inflammation, they get little water retention, they immediately go, oh, too much salt, too much water, I'm gonna go, I don't care what he says, I'm gonna just go a little lower on this. So what you are doing is basically, you are still dislodging the stuff, but you are not giving enough plasma to run the diarrhea. And the worst thing you can do is to stop diarrhea in this process, because you are stopping the cleanse of the biggest valve, and the toxicity of the blood is increasing because you are digging all that garbage from subcutaneous tissue, from connective tissue, even the adipose tissue, if you are losing weight. So it is absolutely necessary to understand that if you do not provide enough plasma, you are complicated things. You will have more water retention, actually. In most cases, we don't have much problem in the first stage. Swelling, okay, not big deal. It is the second stage that when kicks in, this is where the problems occur, and I have people ending up in hospitals. Why? They don't listen. So this is why I'm making this video, also for doctors. So you understand if patient comes with water retention, what to do. It's nothing what we are being told. Well, we'll go around it a little bit. So, what happens after initial water retention? As you are drinking enough plasma, 3 liters, people can usually take it, 1 liter in the morning, 1 gulp, and then during the day, another 2 liters, and not big deal. But now what happens after 3 weeks, the blood has cleansed enough, and your cells start hydrating because it's a clean blood. So what happens? More plasma is needed because now you are hydrating on cellular level. Your weight loss, initial weight loss that started, stops, and you may even gain some weight because water is heavy, and you are loading your cells with plasma. And as soon as you give some plasma, the toxic cells throw out toxicity, part of it. Remember, cell is like a sponge. And now if some water comes in, some toxicity will be eliminated, but since the cells are very dehydrated and extremely toxic and acidic, a lot of acids come out and pollute the blood, and blood becomes polluted more than ever before. So now, what happens? Symptom, you still have a kind of diarrhea, mucus coming out, but you have little pellets of feces. It's not pasting, it's pellets. Why? Because body is not reabsorbing the toxic mucus. It is eliminating it. But any piece of plasma, liquid, minerals and water that it can find, it will reabsorb, which means the feces is getting dry. And you start having these pellets together with this plasma going. This is the moment when you have to increase plasma. But what happens at the same time as this is happening, all of a sudden, since you didn't react in time, the blood's toxicity has increased and you are getting more retention because you are not having proper diarrhea. So blood levels toxicity increased tremendously. These toxins, cellular toxins, are very acidic, very, very strong toxins. And body goes into crisis. The toxic level has increased dramatically and it goes into emergency override. What happens? You get heart palpitation. Heart goes into tachycardia because it is increasing the speed of circulation to eliminate the garbage. You urinate more, but if you don't drink enough plasma now, diarrhea is not going. So you are closing, you are shutting your valve. And because you feel bad and water retention is starting to come on again, now again we go, salt, water retention, okay, we're gonna cut down a little bit of plasma. The elderly always say, I cannot drink more, the 3 liters. Well, if you cannot drink more, then we have to stop the process. You have to drink more. There is no other way. Because what happens? The toxic level of the blood has increased but there's not enough plasma to cleanse it. Through urine we cannot deal, and if you have to urinate a lot, you are losing plasma, water and minerals. So you have to increase, and how do you know how much you have to increase? Well, your excrement is your dipstick. It has to stay in diarrhea. So drink. Some people have to drink 8 liters of plasma a day. Sometimes even more. I have autistic a patient that when he started drinking plasma, he could not let it go. He was drinking more than 10 liters, 13, 14 liters of plasma a day. Because he processed it and he knew right away that this is what body needs. But we always go with this fear, salt, bad. It causes kidney problems. So, not enough. And then, people don't inform me in time. I always say, when you are in crisis, when something is happening, give me daily report. But then I have to know everything. Not hiding, well, we are not giving her that much water, well, we'll lower this and we'll... I have to know, and I have to know the severity of the symptom. Because in the second stage, if it's high toxicity that came, you are going to have water retention also in your lungs. Because usually people, all people have a lung problem, marginally asthmatic. Why? Low plasma level. So what happens is they start retaining water in lungs, and I have to know this. I have to know when they lay down, they cannot breathe. They have problem breathing when they lay down. Because then this is the time when we reach for medicinal remedies. We reach for diuretics. But again, people are afraid. So they take diuretic and they stop with plasma. You cannot do this. You have to have the valve opened. So you are taking diuretics and you are drinking plasma to get the stuff out. Now where doctors can really help in patients like this, go with big syringe, a needle, and take the retained liquid because it's extremely toxic. Take it out. It is going to make it that much easier to continue. But of course, as soon as doctors hear that the patient is having some plasma, water, that this is the problem, you cannot do this, that you stop, stall, no salt. Okay? And no matter how much I talk to doctors, so far I have only 5 doctors, no, not even 5, maybe 4, and they're basically young doctors, or in medical school, who are understanding this, and they are trying to re-educate themselves. And especially as the blood is becoming so toxic, you are now having this tachycardia. And what doctor does right away? Jump! We gotta do calcium channel blockers. Bam! We have to give diuretics, okay, this is fine, but calcium channel blockers, why? Stupid. And aspirin, why? You don't want to prevent coagulation of the blood, because these people have vulnerable system. They all have problems with blood vessels. They are very brittle. And they are prone to breaking. And if it doesn't coagulate, if the blood doesn't coagulate rapidly, then they can get strokes. And this is mostly what happens because of the aspirin and other antihistaminic. So, antihistaminic, other My brain froze. Stuff like beta blockers, anything to lower blood pressure. Well, diuretic in this case works and should be used. But you don't leave plasma. You have to continue drinking plasma and enough to keep the diarrhea going. And you take diuretic, so then your body basically is pushing the things out. So you are helping the body medicinally. Unfortunately, and arrhythmia, that's where I was. So that, remember that everything what happens because body is on autopilot, genetically controlled. It's controlled through the genes, through experiences during the lifetime. I have to talk more about genes, more about frequencies. I'll get to it probably soon. So you get tachycardia because that's how we are programmed, to go in override to speed up the cleansing. But we say, no, we cannot, we have to slow down the heartbeat. We have to normalize it. Well, it is not normal circumstance. The body decided that it is way better to speed up circulation. But no, this is not. We don't listen to the body. Body is stupid. Body does not know what it's doing. We are experts. We know. So right away you slow down the heart. So now the toxicity is staying in the blood longer, creating more problems, more pain. Oh, but a painkiller, no problem. Inflammation, anti-inflammatory. Well, if you would have increased plasma, none of this other stuff would be necessary. And leave tachycardia. There's no problem unless you go into palpitation, but it doesn't happen. Okay, I have people who are in tachycardia for several days. They go to, I don't know, 120, 130, 140 heartbeats. Not big deal. Drink more plasma. As soon as it cleanses, tachycardia goes down. So now we call it, now we are going into bradycardia because now it's lower. Body is perfect machine. It knows when to speed up the heart, when to slow it down, because it works on optimal level. And every time we monkey with the system, we screw it up. Diuretic, okay. Even better is sucking the liquid out, if it's in the lungs, for example, because when you cannot breathe, this is dangerous. So you have to take it out. But strong diuretic usually does the job. And very often, when you get the stuff moving, you put the diuretic in, and then all of a sudden you go with diarrhea, with the sweats, with fever, body kicks in and start throwing the stuff out. Why? Because diuretics are very toxic, and body wants to get them out as fast as possible. So it even overrides the system that of blood toxicity that was before, because it just decides, well, I don't care. We have to, even if we are low on plasma, getting low on plasma, we gotta get this stuff out. So you start losing water. Edema goes down, water retention goes away. When you can breathe again, and you feel okay, and swelling went down, doesn't have to go down completely. Stop with diuretic and continue with plasma. You never stop with plasma. The worst thing you can do in any of the stages, stopping, lowering the amount of plasma you drink. You have to maintain the diarrhea. I have cases with people who have been very toxic, and liquid accumulating in the joints and also in lungs, but they followed the instructions and they were forcing themselves to drink adequate amount of plasma, and they never needed diuretic. It took some time. Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes less, sometimes more. It all depends how toxic we are on cellular level, how many toxins are being shut out from the cells, polluting the blood and creating all the other problems that we call normally flu or disease. They are all related to the toxicity of the blood and blood's detox. Don't play with the heart. Don't play with chemicals. You don't want to slow down the heart unless it is in palpitation. But this, in this case, doesn't happen. This happens if you have problem with the valve in the heart. Okay? So then you get into fibrillation. You gotta get out of it because heart is not pumping. But I have never seen this in my clients. But increased heartbeat, yes, and then decreased, and then fluctuating because it's adjusting to the toxicity. When it needs it, beats harder. When blood gets a little cleaner, slows down because it's a perfect machine. It knows what to do. We are the stupid ones, trained by stupid teachers and stupid professors, manipulated information, and we do not think. We just follow orders. So it is very important to be guided in this process. When you don't have any problems, you are younger or less toxic, you don't need any guide. You just follow the protocol, usually 3 liters of plasma, sometimes you increase to 4 liters, and you are fine. But unfortunately, most people that I deal with are those who have been already damaged by the medical industry on being medicated and extremely, extremely acidic and toxic and dehydrated. And it is way trickier now to work with such a client. And it's a client because nobody is sick. We are just toxic. Nothing else but toxicity is what we call disease. And cleansing is a big part of getting better. You have to cleanse, but not using medicinal remedies, because you are basically stopping the cellular cleanse. You are just allowing blood cleansing or organ cleansing because you are targeting certain frequency. You need to cleanse the whole body. And this is where the cellular protocol, there is no protocol like it. Doesn't exist. Because only with 0 medicinal remedies you can achieve full cleanse. And the body will heal. Another part is our mind, because remember, again, everything is frequency. It has nothing to do with a plant or what we ate or chemical or whatever. It's all frequency. So our thoughts, our fears make us more toxic and prevent detox, because we are building these toxic frequencies that you have to get out, and they actually prevent your manifestation from happening. It's way more complicated than we think. This is why quantum physics is the only way to explain stuff and get some clarity, and I will get to it in a different video. But this is basically just a guide, because now I have one client that is in a hospital. They will benefit from this. They have to understand. Sometimes if the client simply refuses to drink more plasma, we have to stop the cleansing, cellular cleansing process. We do it by poisoning the cells with toxic stuff to prevent them from hydrating, to force them to produce stress proteins, to make their membranes denser. This way the garbage is not going to flow out, but also it will not go in, and you still continue with drinking a lot of plasma because you need to cleanse the blood. You just stop the cells. Antibiotics do this. Ibuprofen does it. Antiparasite chemicals do it. Vermectin. How do you think you stop flu when you use the stuff? In this way. You lock in the cell. Cell does not want this stuff to come in. It creates stress proteins. It makes its membrane denser. So now water doesn't come in, even with the flow, doesn't come out, cells are locked. And you give body time to cleanse the blood. You cleanse the blood, you feel good. The way you feel is always about toxicity of the blood, not about toxicity of the cell. Toxic cell only robs you of energy, making you tired. Nothing else. All the other symptoms are all toxic blood. So yes, you can, if you're really desperate, because let's say the client refuses to drink more, then you have to stop the process, the cleansing process of the cells. So you poison the cells. Sometimes garlic is enough, but it's more neurotoxic. But antibiotic, any kind of antibiotic, they are all very toxic. And not for 3 days, okay? 1 day, just lock it in, and maybe ibuprofen is lighter. We can try also natural remedies, like turmeric, higher dosage of turmeric, higher dosage of garlic will do the thing too. And it will lock the cell, preventing them from cleansing. Blood will cleanse because you have to drink plasma. Even through this, you are using medicinal remedy to close down the cells, but the blood has to be cleansed because all your symptoms are blood toxic related. I hope it makes sense to you, but experience showed me this. So, implement it. And don't be alarmed if you have tachycardia. If you have a problem, send me email. Or book a Skype conversation. And we'll go and explain stuff. Thank you for listening. Put it in your brain. Start learning the truth. Thank you. Love you all.